Maya's hands trembled as she wiped the last streak of soap from the counter. The laundry shop was finally empty. The clock above the door read 6:42 p.m. Her shift had ended 12 minutes ago, but she couldn't just leave. She never could, not when there was still one more pile of clothes waiting, one more customer who might need her smile. But tonight was different. Tonight, she had a date. She had almost said no when her coworker set her up with Daniel, a friend of a friend, someone she'd never met. Maya hadn't been on a date in years. Between double shifts, rent, and her mother's medical bills, she barely had time to sleep, let alone believe in romance. But something inside her, something small, stubborn, and quietly hopeful, had whispered, "Go." So she went. She didn't even stop by home to change. She just tied her hair into a messy bun, dabbed some powder on her tired face, and ran through the cool evening air, still smelling faintly of detergent and dreams. When she arrived at the cafe, she froze. Through the glass, she saw him, neat shirt, watch glinting in the warm light, posture confident but not arrogant. He looked kind. Too kind for someone like her, she thought. Maya almost turned away. But then, Daniel looked up, saw her through the window, and smiled. It was the kind of smile that said he had been waiting, not impatiently, but with quiet faith that she would come. She pushed open the door. The bell above it chimed softly. "You must be Maya," he said, standing to greet her. "I'm so sorry I'm late," she said, her breath still uneven. "I came straight from work." He tilted his head slightly, his gaze warm. "You smell like soap and sunshine." She blinked, surprised. "It's detergent," she said, half embarrassed. "Then it's the nicest detergent I've ever smelled," he replied with a grin. For the first time that day, Maya laughed. The date was nothing like she'd expected. Daniel didn't ask her about her job in a way that made her feel small. He didn't flinch when she told him she worked at the wash stop, where she spent 10 hours a day folding clothes that weren't hers. He listened. Really listened. "So," he said halfway through his coffee, "what do you want to do, Maya?" If money and time didn't matter. She hesitated. No one had asked her that in a long time. "I design clothes," she said quietly. "Not fancy ones. Just clothes that make ordinary people feel beautiful. But I don't have the degree or the money for that kind of dream." Daniel smiled. "Dreams don't need permission. They just need belief." She looked down at her hands, rough, tired, lined with soap burns. "Belief doesn't pay for fabric." "True," he said. "But sometimes, it pays for courage." They started meeting every week after that. Sometimes at the cafe, sometimes just walking by the river where city lights shimmered on the water. Daniel was an architect, but he never made her feel like she was less. He would sketch buildings while she drew Dr. The smell of detergent still clung to her hands. Maya glanced at the time again, 7:05 p.m. She was late. Her shift at the laundry shop had ended only 20 minutes ago, and she hadn't even had time to change. Her hands were raw from scrubbing, her uniform slightly damp from the steam, and her shoes carried the weary creases of long hours on her feet. Still, she ran. It wasn't just any night, it was the first date she'd ever dared to say yes to in 3 years. When she arrived at the small cafe by the river, she paused outside the glass door, trying to catch her breath. Through the window, she saw him, Daniel, sitting by the corner table, looking at his watch, then glancing toward the door with patient eyes. She swallowed hard, smoothing her apron and tugging her hair back. "Just go," she whispered to herself. The bell over the door chimed as she entered. Daniel looked up. His face softened instantly. "You made it." Maya forced a smile. "Sorry I'm late. I came straight from work." "I can tell," he said with a gentle laugh. "You smell like soap and something honest." Her cheeks flushed. "That's probably detergent," she replied shyly, setting her old canvas bag on the chair beside her. He smiled. "It suits you." That simple line broke something inside her, the invisible wall she had built between who she was and who she wished she could be. For the first few minutes, Maya could barely meet his gaze. She was painfully aware of her calloused hands and the faint stains on her sleeves. The cafe's soft light reflected off the polished tables, making her feel out of place. Daniel, however, spoke with a calm warmth, asking her about her day, her dreams, and the small things that made her smile. Bit by bit, she began to relax. He told her about his work as an architect and how he spent most days staring at unfinished plans. She told him about folding other people's clothes, saving up for evening classes in fashion design, and how she drew sketches on brown paper bags during lunch breaks. When she said it, she laughed nervously, but Daniel didn't. He leaned forward. "Can I see them?" Her heart skipped. "They're just doodles." "Still. I'd like to see." She reached into her bag and pulled out a crumpled notebook filled with pencil sketches, dress designs, fabric patterns, silhouettes inspired by everyday people she saw on the street. Daniel turned the pages slowly, silent for a long while. Then he looked at her with quiet admiration. "You're talented, Maya. Really talented." Her throat tightened. No one had ever said that before. Weeks passed after that night, but their conversations didn't stop. Daniel would drop by the laundry shop sometimes, always at closing time, bringing her coffee and listening as she complained about rude customers or broken machines. One evening, she found him waiting with a rolled-up blueprint. "I have a project," he said. "A small boutique design. And I thought, maybe you could help me with the interior."
लाइक करें, सब्सक्राइब करें और बेल आइकन जरूर प्रेस करें।